Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final week of the xAPI cohort, and we have some team demos to show you. Before that, we have a couple of cohort members who have worked on a couple things, and they'll be coming in the second half of our program. But before we begin, we're going to see Becky Goldberg, who's going to show us this great way of sending xAPI statements through Articulate. Now, I want to remind you, we have our xAPI party and we have our proposals in, and we're going over them, and you will see them all December 1st between the hours of 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific. And there is a way that you can register if you have not already registered. And I'm going to drop that into chat here. And you have a link there in chat where you can definitely go ahead and register for the xAPI party. We'd love to see you. If you are not a member of the Guild, we invite you to become a member of the Guild. We have shared some xAPI resources and reports that we have on the Guild site, and the way you get those is by becoming a member. Membership is free, and then you get these great resources. You also will get discounts to our face-to-face events and access to some of our free webinars that we offer and session recordings for other things that we have. We have an online conference offering, and you can subscribe to that and get a great deal on some professional development. So go ahead and click that link, our xAPI Spring Cohort. It will be beginning in February of 2023, February 2nd, as a matter of fact, and it'll be going for 12 weeks. We will have that sign up very soon, and I'm sure you will get an email from our marketing team that tell you how to sign up for the cohort for spring 2023. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Becky Goldberg, and Becky is going to show us her great project. So Becky, if you would, please take it away.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Karen, I think only one person can share at a time, so I can't rest the control.
Yep, there we go. I'm stopping my sharing right now. And then I'm going to just step away from the stage. I'll still be in the background if you have any questions.
Okay, excellent. And I will try to monitor chat while we are while I'm presenting. So if you have questions while I'm talking, go ahead and try to hit chat. And if I miss anything while I'm going through stuff, then I'll try to get to that at the end of the presentation as well. So what you should be seeing on the screen right now is a pride flag waving against clouds, and this is the login screen for one of our diversity network ally campaigns. This was the winning presentation at Demo Fest at DevLearn this year, and this was built in Storyline. It's xAPI enabled, and what I'm going to show for you today is one component of the project, which is how I got the Storyline to retrieve data from the LRS and then do something about that data in Storyline. So I'm going to show you how this project works, and then I have a present for the cohort, which is a story file that you can download once you join the Guild, and it has all the code that you need to actually set this up in your story file, so you can dissect it and you can have it on your end and practice with it on your side. So when I log into the Ally dashboard, the first thing you're going to see is kind of a modal that says unfurling your flag. And this takes a moment to load because what's happening in the background is Storyline is actually querying the LRS for each one of these squares. It is asking, what has Becky already done? And if she's already done any of these activities, make that square a solid red or orange and so forth. So in this case, I have done 2 red activities and the 1 purple activity. And it will always know whatever I've done across my entire ecosystem because it's querying the LRS each time it loads. So the reason I'm not going to show you this source file is because it is highly complicated, but I have stripped it down and I'm going to show you this source file. So we are going with how many times has Becky clicked that button. So let's do a little review of this file. So what we have here is a button. It's just a button. And on that button, I'm going to send an xAPI statement. Now, when I set this xAPI statement up, I just use the built-in trigger. And I'm going to show you how that trigger wizard works. In the action, I'm going to send an xAPI statement. And I said interacted. And I chose the object, that button. Now, what happened when I did this and hit OK, that's totally fine. I want to show you a little kind of tip with Storyline. You can actually see the entire construction of this statement if you click this plus xAPI. If you wanted to add your own xAPI to this statement, you could add it here. But even if you just want to see what that statement is, you could click that plus xAPI, and then it'll show you what that construction of the statement here. And the reason this was important to me is because I could see that my project activity ID was going to be part of the activity ID for my that button, but so was my slide ID. And that's not something that I can see right off the bat in my source file. So you will need the activity ID of the thing that you're looking for. And in this case, because the thing I'm looking for is in my Storyline file, I had two choices. Either I'd have to send a test statement to my LRS and then find out what was that activity ID, or I have the option right here to change that activity ID and make it that button. And that's how I got to this custom xAPI statement that you see here. So if I hit OK, that'll change it to a custom xAPI statement. But that's kind of a shortcut to a custom xAPI statement as well. So I'm going to hit cancel on this one because I already have that custom xAPI statement set up right here with that customized ID for the statement that I want to send when someone clicks that button. The next thing I want to show you is that they have a text box, and this 0 right here is actually a project variable. So this is a Storyline variable that's called times clicked. And the way you would insert that, I'm hoping everybody knows how to do that, is you can insert a reference right here, and that'll put that value of that Storyline variable right into your text box. Google that with Storyline in insert Storyline variable text box, and you'll get instructions on how to do that in Storyline. Really doesn't have anything to do with xAPI. It's a Storyline feature. So I've embedded my Storyline variable right here. And then the next thing I have here is my refresh button. Now, this does have to do with how I get the results of my query to show up somehow in Storyline. So this one has got one trigger on it that is execute JavaScript. And when I open that up, what I'm seeing here is I am actually firing just one function, and that function is called get statements. And I want to get statements on that button. Okay, so that's how this page is built. When I click that button, I send a statement. And when I click refresh, it's going to send this function. It's going to run this JavaScript function. Okay, now we're going to jump over to the JavaScript. Now, you can run JavaScript entirely within Storyline. However, this function is quite large, and I find it easier to work with JavaScript if you work in a tool where it makes it easier to format JavaScript. Now, everybody takes a deep breath here because we're going to be looking at code. Okay, so this is Notepad++, and you can already see why it's easier to work in a tool that is designed to work with code because you can already see the color coding in here. And so if you forget a comma or you forget to close something with parentheses, it's going to show up in a different color and kind of give you hints as to where some of your errors might be. This JavaScript file is a file that I created that has all of my xAPI functions that I need to retrieve data from the LRS. Now, if you notice, all of these lines that start with the double slashes, those are actually comments. And I use the same file in all of my coursework. In I use the same file in all my coursework because I leave all of the search parameters in here. And that way, I don't have to always remember how to format those parameters. I just kind of uncomment the ones that I need for the project that I'm working on. So for example, I did a project where I did spaced reinforcement, and I needed to query how many times had somebody passed a test in the last 2 weeks. So I needed to query for the verb, and I needed a since parameter and the activity parameter. So I would just uncomment those lines and use those parameters. So my preference is to leave all these comments in here so I don't have to relearn how to use this file each time, and I don't have to put all of these different parameters in based on which ones I need at any given time. So the other nice thing about this file is that it is actually adapted from a file originally built by Anthony Altieri, and I've continued to build into it as I've learned different things about different rapid development tools. So you'll see in here we also use Lectora, and I've built into here how I would get the actor from Lectora automatically. I've got one in here for how I get it for Storyline as well. And so I've continued to build into this file, but it originally came from the community from Anthony Altieri, and he also has a foundations course on LinkedIn Learning. I'm going to go ahead, if I can, and put a link to that course in the chat, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is where I learned how to query the LRS, so highly recommended. So in this course, what we need to look for is how many times did somebody click that button. So I am looking for statements by the activity and by the agent. So the agent would be the actor or agent. So I need to unlock just these two parameters. The project ID is something that I am defining with that login page. So in my Storyline file, if you remember, the default send statement already passed in that project ID, and then I changed just that part at the end, just the part that came after this basic project ID. And that's the part that I'm kind of calling object ID. This isn't an xAPI concept, but it's just what I've kind of called that last little bit of the xAPI of the activity ID. And so in that JavaScript file from the Storyline course, that's where the quote that button is being passed into this function. And that's how I'm looking for this particular activity. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this over really quick so you can see that one more time. Here's that's being passed into the function. And if we look at that statement, here's that piece that goes on the end of that project activity ID. So this is the name of my function. That's just what I called it. But all of these queries, all of these parameters that are in here, this step 1 that's explained here, step 2, step 3, all of these steps are standard steps. This is exactly how you do it when you work with the xAPI wrapper. And I'm going to talk about the xAPI wrapper in just a minute. And then step 4, you're going to actually send the query to the LRS. This is the function that sends the actual query based on these parameters. Now, when you get to the end, once you send that query, what you're going to get back is an array of all of the statements that fit the parameters that you sent. What I do is I like to see them in the console. So if you do a lot of web development and you want to see what came back from your query, this is how I do it. I want to see how many did I get, and I actually have the entire array come back in my console as well. Most of the time when I'm working with queries, I'm interested in how many statements came back. If you want to dig down into the contents of those statements, then what you're going to want to do is talk to your favorite geek and ask them how to cycle through that array and dig down into the individual statements within that array. However, if you, like me, are targeting how many statements came back, then you are interested in the length of that array. And so what I have then done is said, if that array is more than one, if there's more than one statement, then I want to set the number of statements to a storyline variable called times clicked. So this is how this player.setVar, this is how you set a storyline variable. And I would encourage you, Google how to set storyline variable from JavaScript, and you'll get instructions on that. That is a storyline thing, not an xAPI thing. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm querying the LRS, find out how many statements I get back, and pass into storyline that I got how many statements I got, and I'm adjusting a storyline variable based on that result. So one of the other things that happens in the Allied campaign dashboard is when you earn a stripe, you get fireworks. And this was one of the things that people really loved at DemoFest and asked me about a lot. So I actually have included for you the JavaScript library that I use to make the fireworks. And in this case, if you return more than 5 clicks, it's going to celebrate with fireworks. And here is the code for fireworks. And then I've included this library in the story file as well. So that's just a little fun thing, but this is also the format. What happens if you have more than one? What happens if you have more than 5, for example? So examples of what you can do. And then else, if you don't meet any of these criteria, what should happen if you don't meet those criteria? So a lot of this is basic JavaScript. So you, again, may need to talk to your favorite geek to figure out how to structure the function and what you want to happen once you bring back the results from your LRS. But this is how you would set up your basic query. I am going to jump back into Storyline because there's one more very important thing to do. We have now built our JavaScript file, and I mentioned the xAPI wrapper. The xAPI wrapper is a huge part of what drives all of this functionality. So that's what has all of the functions that you're going to be calling when you query the LRS. And to bring that into your file, you're going to want to download it from GitHub. And here is the link to the GitHub repository. I have also included the latest release in the story file that is available again through the Learning Guild. And then again, the JavaScript file that you create, if you're going to do it outside of the JavaScript functions in Storyline, which I do recommend, you're going to have to put that into your course somehow. So I'm going to show you a powerful, powerful trick for how to get your own JavaScript into Storyline for the whole course. If you go to your master slide, and go all the way up to the master slide. On the master slide, create a new trigger of execute JavaScript. And I've included this code if you want to take a screenshot really quick, or again, in the story file that's available through the Learning Guild. This is how you would include the JavaScript at the parent level, at the very highest level of your story file. And because it's at the master slide level, it's going to automatically load on every page in your course. So make sure you put it at that parent master slide level. If you have multiple master slides in your project, remember to put it on each parent master slide that you'll need it on. And you may need to put them in order based on the dependencies. So if you're talking to your favorite geek, make sure you ask them, are there dependencies within the JavaScript files that they give you? Okay, so let's see this in action. Here is the retrieve xAPI. I've already logged in. I'm going to click that button one time. Let's refresh. It says one time. I'm going to click it 3 more times. 2, 3, 4. Refresh. There's 4. I'm going to click it 5, 6. What happens if it's more than 5? Fireworks. So That was a crazy fast 20-minute explanation on how you would set up Storyline to retrieve data from the LRS and then do something in Storyline about it. I expect you probably would totally need to come over to watch this a couple of times to execute it. But like I said, I've built a story file for you to dissect, and hopefully you have everything you need to get started. I have a couple more tips for you. I will put them in chat as well. But I'm going to take one extra minute just to tell you. So those tips are the LRS credentials that you use to search for statements, and that would be in the JavaScript file that you create, this configuration up here. Those credentials that you use to search for statements, they must have enough authority to retrieve the data you're searching for. So they have to have the right authority to get data back from the LRS, but make sure that you don't use credentials that could constitute a security risk. You don't want to use global credentials that could search all of the data in your LRS, because again, you're going to publish this out where anyone who's savvy enough to look at the sources in your course would be able to access them. I'm going to give you another resource in the chat of how to create launcher files, that login page that was built originally by John Blackman from Trivantis, the former Trivantis, which was the creator of Lectora, and he's now with the eLearning Brothers. I have a super special hidden link for where you can still download those xAPI launcher files. So grab those and you can adapt those to your purpose and create them as a login page. And that can help you make sure that the credentials you use to search match the credentials that you use to post data to your LRS. Second, make sure you know the activity you're searching for. Remember, we talked about how Storyline will automatically create the activity ID, but we'll add that slide ID that's going to be kind of gobbledygook. You can either send a test statement and find out exactly what that activity ID is going to be, or like we did, you can edit the activity ID right in Storyline. Finally, if you do a lot of searches, it can slow down your page's performance, like you saw in my DemoFest presentation. So you might need to make a design decision for how to compensate, like I did with that unfurling your flag kind of thought. So keep that in mind if you are doing a lot of queries. A lot of LRSs will only return a limited number of statements, about 50, and then they'll have a parameter that says more. And if you really need to get every single statement back, I recommend checking out Devlin Peck's article. I'm going to put a link in chat because he has an excellent article about querying the LRS that will also give you information on how to extend for those unique cases. And that is my time. I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions in chat if you have any. Thank you so much for having me today, and go xAPI the world.
Thank you so much, Becky. That was really great. I can't tell you, there's been a number of comments and they're like, I wish we had seen this earlier in the cohort. So we're going to take that under advisement. And thank you for stepping in and sharing that with us. And now we have a couple of projects that we're going to have the team members come on to the stage. And so I'm going to invite Khalid here, and he's going to come to the stage in just a minute. And he will be showcasing his project that he has been working on. And there we go. And hopefully he'll be coming on. And here he is in the stage. And I am going to, there you go. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And if you would introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your project.
Hello,
Hi,
I
we can
lost
hear
your
you.
voice. I don't know if once I accepted the invitation, I lost your voice. I can't hear you. I don't
Oh,
know. Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me now? Mm.
I don't know what's wrong. Anyway, can you hear me? Can I start my? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Let me say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to everybody. Actually, I can see that there are many people attending this event. That's very interesting. More than 60 people. I'm really very happy to see that. I had problem with my voice today. At least I can speak. Yesterday, it was not possible to speak at all. Anyway, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Khalid. I'm working on xAPI project since 1 year. This project is intended to collect learner activities among different scattered and diverse LMSs nationwide. Means we are receiving learner activities from totally different designed platforms or LMSs, LXPs, and whatever. Anyway, uh, here we try to we have the big challenges in this project. Up to now, we are having more than 50 LMSs or different LMSs connecting to our server, sending learner activities, sending statements. So let me start this. Okay, okay. What are the project or why we are collecting these statements or the learner activities? Initially, we are intending to build a learner passport. Learner passport will contain the skills a student gained across his learning journeys in a platform or even at like multiple platforms, because sometimes a student or a learner can gain skills from one LMS. Another day he might go to another LMS and gain another skills. So all these collected or all these skills he gained should be collected in one place. We call it a learner passport. The second goal or third goal or many goals we are like aiming to achieve out of this project, it's a recommender system. Recommender system, it's AI based system to suggest courses to learner based on two things: the previous courses he or she completed and the similarity between learners taking the same courses. If some students they are taking similar courses, so system will recommend whatever courses a student did has completed to the other student or to the other similar student or learner. The third thing is the adaptive learning, and that is very great project or great goal for out of this project. It's the process of tracking the trainees' behavior and performance during the educational process and finding his strengths and weaknesses, and the learner curriculum or the courses or even the subjects is modified or other, they are modified according to his achievement or his difficulties, the difficulties he's facing, or according to the needs maybe he must he must get. What do we mean by LMS integration? LMS integration, it means all these remote, let's say remote LMSs or various LMSs must connect to the same server at the same time. We receive statement instantly from these LMSs to the LRS. Once a student will register in a course, immediately it will send that, okay, student A or student B or any student has registered at the same moment. Registered, initialized, completed, whatever activities he's taking. A learner gains across multiple LMSs. Here we are just having a fast example of a learner with the national ID. For example, the learner and with the national ID 10020030004, this learner is taking a course in LMS1 and gaining or getting some skills. The same learner one day or another day, he got another skills from LMS5. So all these informations or all these skills must be collected in one, let's say one server or one profile called the learner passport, or some people they are calling it a learning profile or learner profile. Here we are having the same thing, learning journey one. This student has gained skill one and skill two. In another journey, in another day, the same student gains some other skills, skill 3 and skill 4. So all these skills must be aggregated and collected together in one learner profiles. It's as shown here. So learning passport will contain many other things from the academic performance, internship, or whatever. But here, from the LRS, we are concerned about the skills and competencies this student is getting across different platforms. So when we started this project, we thought what information we need to collect out of this, or what engagement, student engagement we have to collect. So collecting each and every click or everything the course or the student is doing in the LMS, this is not good practice. It will end up with a very huge useless data. So we thought of collecting, okay, the course enrollment, student enrollment in any course, student initialization of the course, consuming or watching the videos, completing the lessons and units, and even completing the whole course, attempting quizzes, exams. We keep even track of the number of attempts of the same quiz or the same exam, measuring learner progress among the course, rating the course, if a student will be rating the course, so that we can know what is the student or learner satisfaction with the course, which courses are rated more than others, and whatever. Earning certificate, if the same course, or if the course is having a certificate, then we can keep track of the certificates that the student or the learner has achieved. For doing this project, we had to know what verbs and what activity types we have to use. And to get that, we have to select them or gather them from different profiles. Going to these different profiles, we have to, the best source for viewing these profiles is profiles.adlnet.gov/profiles, and that is the new link to the profile server. Before, actually, it was usalearning.org, as I guess. The verbs we are using, for example, these are just a list of, or example of list of vocabularies or concepts we have used. Registered, we are using this ID. This is from the ADL vocabulary profile. The second concept, for example, is initialized, and this is the verb ID, and we are getting it or collecting it from SCORM profile. Finally, let me jump to the final one. It is module, that is an activity type. It's collected from SCORM profile. I'm trying to move fast so that I can catch the time. I know the time is very short. We're taking here, or I'm showing here, an example of register statement. If a student or a learner has registered in a statement, then we will be having the main objects, that is the actor, verb, object. Here, the actor, we have replaced the name. As you see here in the actor, under the actor, there is a name. We don't use the direct or the actual name of the learner. We are using the national ID of the learner. We have replaced the name of the learner because sometimes the names of learners might be similar. So we have to use a unique identifier for each learner or for every learner. That's why we have used the national ID. Verb, object, that is the object ID, definition, name, description, and here we use the type that is available in the previous slide. Context, in the context, we are collecting the instructor information. The platform, as we said, that we are collecting information from different platforms. So I want to know this statement is coming from which platform. So once we start the integration with any platform, so we provide them, we as the National E-Learning Center, we provide them with this unique ID, so that every LMS will have its unique ID, just to reference and to keep track of statements coming from which LMS. Okay, extensions here, we are having the full name of the LMS. That is, for example, just as an example, leading technology for training. This is LMS name or the learning provider name. Finally, in this statement, we are collecting the skills and competencies related to this course. So this student registered in this course in the available in the object ID. Okay, what are the competencies or the domain of this course? For example, it is system analysis, artificial intelligence. What skills will the learner gain? It is, for example, a Python deep learning. In fact, we did not start implementing the skills and competencies up to now, but I have just added it for demonstration purpose. That is the next step of our project. Actor, verb, object. This is just a clear view of the, or a bigger, let me say this, enlarged picture of the statement, of this part of the statement. Context extensions. I have already explained, maybe I forgot that I have already separated this statement into two slides. So for example, this platform is Alif minus 003. This is the platform unique ID. Context activities. Okay, context activities parent, we have an object information. For example, in some activities, the object is not the course itself. It can be a video inside the course, it can be a module inside the course, or it can be any nested object inside the course itself. So here we have, if we say that, okay, a student or a learner has completed, for example, module 1. The module name or the module ID, I will be back to the previous slide. The module name will be, for example, specified here. But the reference for the parent, where this module is coming from or belongs to, it will be available in the parent section inside context activities. Here we'll find the ID of the parent, or it will be the ID of the course, and here's some other information about the course. The type of the parent here, of course, it will be a course. Initially, we started implementing this project on a learning locker, open source, great LRS. But due to the need for support, we have shifted to an enterprise LRS, which is Veracity Learning or Veracity LRS. And after that, okay, that's a screenshot of our LRS. Inside the LRS server, we have created two LRSs. One LRS for staging, that is on the right side, and next, or the other LRS, it is the production LRS. The staging LRS is used during the qualification process, or let me say, once we start working with new LMS, so we don't provide them with the production LRS to send their testing statements. So they will keep trying sending statements on the staging LRs, because many times they will need the time to know what is xAPI, how to send statements. Maybe they will send us a lot of wrong statements. So that's why we have created the staging LRS. Once the LMS provider is, the LMS is ready for the full integration, then we send him to, or we give him another authentication data to the production LRS. Here is a screenshot of our LRS. It will contain all statements related or coming from different LMSs. For example, here an actor, verb, object, and here is the time it was stored, the platform ID, and here the platform name. For example, here an actor ID, I have intentionally replaced the real ID with a different ID just for security purpose, because this is a sensitive data. So here we receive all statements from different LMSs. For example, the LMS one, the first, that is MSAAQ, this is an LMS totally different from ATWAR. They are totally different people, different technical teams that we have worked for a long time together to show them how to use the LRS, how to integrate, how to send statements. We have even told them the ABC of xAPI and how to integrate with the LRS. I hope I'm not running out of time. I can't hear if any modification is
Yeah,
there or not.
so
Can you
I
share
don't
your
know if you
screen?
can hear us. I don't think you can hear us, but we're going,
I
if you
don't
can
know.
hear me, maybe you can. I think we would
Yes.
like, okay, good. We would like to thank you for that presentation. I know there's more to it, but we have
Okay.
another presenter. So I'm
I
going
don't
to
know.
check.
Should I keep going?
I am typing.
Okay,
Please
okay.
stop sharing. There we
So,
go.
I will anyway. I will share my presentation, or let me just share my last slide so that I can. Okay, if anyone has questions or anyone needs support, so I can just show my project to him. That is, this will be the last slide. You can just contact me on my Twitter or LinkedIn or my email. You can scan this card and contact me anytime for support. I have to pay back a lot to this cohort because I learned a lot from it. Thank you a lot.
And thank you, Khalid. I'm sorry you can't hear me. Okay. And as I said, it is going to happen on February 2nd. And I have, and where you're going to be able to register for that is here is our link as to where it's going to be. Just go back to the xAPI cohort. Once I type that in chat.com, and that should take you right there. We have just launched the uh, the new registration for February. You can click that button and go ahead and start the cohort registration, and we will be seeing you here at the cohort February 2nd for 12 weeks beginning February 2nd. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks to all the people who've made this cohort absolutely fabulous, all our wonderful speakers. And thank you so much to Torrance Learning, who helped sponsor this particular cohort. Without them, we wouldn't be here. And we thank them very much for showing us the ropes and getting things started here. So hopefully you're going to be joining our xAPI party on December 1st. Remember, it's from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. I dropped a link in chat. You can also see there's a number of ways that you can register. It's in Slack. It's been emailed to you. Hopefully, we'll see a number of you there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end our session and our fall 2022 cohort. And we will see you in the spring. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.